Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm Charlotte McGinnis, and as always, thank you for taking the time to join me here this week, and hope you're doing well wherever you are. If you feel moved to pass this along, just push the share button and give it to anyone you think might like it, or you could just push share on your Facebook page. That might make it easy. Anyway, I want to remind you that the prayer ministry is actively engaged in supporting all of our requests. So if you do have any prayer requests, please submit those to me. You can do it through my website, send me a message, what have you. Any way you choose to submit it is fine. We'll get it out to the team. And I'm grateful to say that we get great feedback, lots of beautiful stories of healing and, overcoming challenges, and that's what it's all about. And also sometimes when things don't necessarily work out the way we might have wanted them to work out, we do get messages where those in receiving our prayers are finding great peace and comfort. So feel free to plug in. So today I'm going to talk about climbing the mountain and the levels of awareness and what that means and how to get there. And we'll just open it up for discussion, feedback. Good morning, Sue. Always nice to see you on Sundays. Not sure who else is here. I still don't know why. Excuse me, I still have a trickle in my throat. But I still don't know why only some people watching pop up. I don't know. But if you all know, let me know. But often I'll know people are watching, but I don't see their names. So anyway, just a little on the side. So climbing that mountain, what does it mean? Well, this past week in our book group, The Mystic Jesus, we're actually on our last chapter. It's going to be sad. We've actually spent almost a year on this book because it's just so rich and great. And you know, the chapters are like 3 pages long, but you can go off on a discussion for hours on each chapter because they're so rich. Good morning, Faith. Good to see you, and great to see you. So anyway, this week it starts off with Marianne saying, Jesus proclaimed, repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near on earth as it is in heaven. And she goes on to say that means that the kingdom is in our hearts. And the more we live from our heart, the more we lift the veil, the more we climb the ladder of awareness, and operate more from a loving perspective, a Christ perspective, than an ego perspective, we've accomplished our mission here in this body, on this planet, in this dream. Okay, I always like to think of the Lord's Prayer and when Jesus says, on earth as it is, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I feel that as we heal and as we collectively heal, eventually one day we will no longer be separate from each other, and heaven and earth will become one because we will be so purified. We will have learned our lessons that we are here to learn, and the lesson is always forgiveness. And when we complete our mission collectively, heaven and earth become one. And so we're going to keep talking about this, and we're going to share ways that maybe we can get there a little bit in the accelerated lane, the road less traveled, really. But that being said, I got some fun stuff to share with you today. Well, ultimately, you know, I've read, we spend the first, I can relate to this, 50 years of our life sort of gathering stuff, accumulating stuff, our careers, our identities, families, etc. And the next 50 is sort of letting go, getting rid of everything that doesn't serve us, really releasing. So I'm sort of on that end of it, where I choose to not only look at items and identities that no longer serve me, but also really look at the thought systems and all the false beliefs that I've carried through my entire life that don't serve my enlightenment and the enlightenment of the world. In the Bible, Jesus asked his disciples to be fishers of men and women, And I will go on to say that after many years of accomplishing, I think we can all relate to that. We've done fun, great things, and not to say that we can't continue to accomplish and find meaning by any means. But I think what happens by being fishers of men, we realize that really the most important thing is to gather and to heal, and some of the other stuff doesn't really have the meaning that it had in the past. I like this fella. He's a country music singer. His name is John Rich. I listen to him. He's a son of a preacher, I think from Tennessee, and he's made great success as a country music star. He's done, excuse me, thousands of live concerts. He's got quite a story, actually, of how he established his career and moved on and became famous. And he certainly got the wall full of platinum albums or whatever it is, and all of these accolades for all of his accomplishments. And he now, in this interview I was watching the other day, said, yeah, you know, those don't mean anything. I just walk by and say, that's a part of his life he doesn't really identify with anymore. It doesn't have the same meaning. And what he says is basically that he is more interested in becoming more enlightened himself, but also being a fisher of men and women. And by doing that, I think we all, at some point, you know, those things are fun, they've served their purpose, they have meaning, but then you realize, okay, maybe it's not so much, so we don't have to chase anything anymore. I think we become more content. And when we do that, it's like, well, what is it all about? And he was telling a story about a song that he wrote, and it was a song about the Bible, Revelation, and it's pretty intense. It's actually a good song. And he said that he was at a concert, I think, and these sorority girls told him after the concert that they all listened to that song and they started a Bible study, studying the things that he spoke of in that song, and they just wanted him to know that they appreciated him and that he was very accurate in his explanation. And he said that to him, those girls sharing that with him, was more meaningful than any platinum album that he's accomplished. And I have to say that I understand that. It's really about, you get to the point where you just want to lift each other up. And I love doing what I do here on Sundays, and the groups and the prayer ministry, and just being focused on being kind and generous as I can, and doing the best I can. And sometimes I'm not so wonderful either. I live on both sides of the world for sure. But overall, that's my function, my purpose. And I know that by the looks of who I know joins us each week, that's a common goal that we all share. And so lifting the veil, climbing the mountain, really means that we have to forgive and release the past. We have to go through a purification process, forgive ourselves first, and then those who we think have trespassed against us, right? And then surrender. And what are we surrendering to? Well, I say my surrender is thy will, not my will, be done. So some of the levels of awareness, you know, just so you sort of get there's many ways to come into this, to lift the veil. But ultimately, you know, as I've shared many times over the years, and you have probably had the same experience, a book that I may have read 30 years ago has completely different meaning than it does for me today, because I'm different. So, and I see that maybe I've matured in my outlook. I'm seeing it more from a bigger perspective, bigger picture. I see that that really there are more common threads that flow amongst us than separate us. I just saw a gal that never heard of her. She's an author. She was on Sunday morning just a minute ago, and you know, she said, just go out into America, you know, and I love these guys on YouTube that just go out, and this one fella, Paul Santinello, he's great. Peter Santinello. And he just goes all over the world and just starts talking to people. And you see that people are actually very kind and more alike than different all over the world. So what we're here to do is to lift our awareness. And I think a low level, and this is maybe when we were cavemen and women, we were into survival consciousness. And maybe even in this lifetime, we've had to be in that. There have been times we probably had to just to do what we have to do to survive. So we're focused on our basic needs and self-preservation. And then the next thing up the rung of the ladder may be our relationships and emphasizing social connections and the needs for connection. And so, you know, you realize the value of connecting with other souls, and know that we're not alone here on this journey. And as you know, Mary Beth, I see you there. We are very blessed to have a wonderful tribe of friends that we connect with very regularly and get together, not as often as we'd like, but we get together when we can. And not to mention the friendships. Well, there's Sue too. Sue's one of the tribe too. But everyone's in my tribe, you know. We want to, eventually everyone will be in our tribe, right? But it's important to nurture relationships, have connection, be with your family, heal the past. There's all sorts of things. Excuse me. This tickle has been really an interesting experience. So, moving forward, self-esteem is a big one. Concentrating on personal achievements and self-worth. Again, that's part of the ladder, right? We're in survival, then we connect with friends. Self-esteem. So we do accomplish, you know, things that teach us. I mean, our accomplishments are great lessons, but and they do give us self-worth. But it's not my worth, I think that we understand as we evolve spiritually, our worth is not identified with my accomplishments, but how I live and show up for life. What am I giving, not what am I getting? You know, we sort of switch that role. I think the first 50 years, like, what can I get? How much money can I get? How many trips can I take? Whatever it is. And then eventually it's like, okay, what can I give back? What can I let go of? And then as we're moving up that ladder, we've got some self-esteem and some accomplishments. And then we have transformation, where we start to question and seek deeper meaning. And I think that's where we all are. I'd say we're actually between this one and the next one, because it's like, okay, you get to that point and it's like, okay, well, I've done all this cool stuff and got great friends and life is good. Had my challenges, overcame those. But moving forward, we begin to seek the bigger picture, which is living from the Christ within, to really being in the world, not of it. Finding peace is a great treasure. I think that I get more pleasure just being still. I used to always have to go somewhere and do this and do that. I get great pleasure just chilling with a couple friends and not really going out and doing much. It's not about all the hubbub anymore that it used to be. And ultimately, we want to integrate, which is aligning our spiritual lessons with our external actions and authenticity. So I think our spiritual life and our day-to-day life become all about integrating everything, spirit into everything. So if you're in the car, drive more consciously. Be kind to people. I was in the store the other day, and this lady was at the pretty lady, maybe in her 70s, I don't know. It's hard to tell. But every customer, she was so kind. I was just like, you are rocking it. She just made a point to say something nice about everybody. I was watching her. And I have to laugh because when I got up, I love your hair, she says. And my hair was a wreck. It was just like bedhead. And I said, oh, thank you. She goes, it's so big hair. I love big hair. So anyway, I was like, well, she had to dig deep for that one. But I really did appreciate, and I know she lifted the spirits of everyone who came through her door because she was making an honest attempt to connect with everybody. And it's like we talked about last week. It's not the huge things, but it's the collection of all the little things that we can all do in any given moment. And as we all probably know, the hardest mountain to climb is the mountain within. And that's really looking at all of our stuff, you know, everything that keeps us in fear and judgment, keeps us separate, keeps us upset, keeps us angry, whatever it is, and overcome that. And even though it's a hard mountain to climb, it's one that's worthwhile. Well, in Scripture, mountains represent, in the Bible, strength, stability, and the presence of God. And when you look at these beautiful, you know, that's probably why I was called to move back to the mountains, because I love the mountains and I do feel the presence of God. And these mountains here in the Carolinas and the Appalachian Mountains are the oldest mountain ranges in the world. And they hold so much energy and power and beauty and wisdom. And although I love and appreciate the Rockies and then can really appreciate, you know, Everest and the huge mountains over in the Himalayas, you know, they all carry their own energy. But I definitely do feel that stability and strength in the presence of God in mountains. So we had a contractor a few years ago. He's a super kid, did a great job, young and accomplished, and just really a great guy. And he, early in his 20s, he decided he wanted to climb Mount Everest. And I don't know if you all know what that process is. It's not like you wake up one day and go, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. It's actually a very methodical process. Some people skip a lot of the steps, and sometimes it doesn't turn out so well for them because they're really not prepared. But if you're doing it the right way, which is kind of like the points I'm choosing to make, you climb those letters of awareness and you prepare yourself so you can get to the mountaintop safely. And but anyway, it requires many trips to the Himalayas. You do short climbs, and you acclimate, and you actually get your team together, your Sherpas and your guides, get your equipment. And this can be a several $100,000 venture that people take on. And it's really about, again, a yearning, I think, to face fears, to overcome belief and limitations. And I think people do it for many different things, but the point is to get to the top of that mountain does take preparation. It takes a team. It takes cooperation, collaboration. It takes vigilance, practice, mindfulness, all of the above. You can't do a climb like that or accomplish, I think people who accomplish great things in their life, they are able to stay present and focused. And I would say that as you're climbing Mount Everest, or you're climbing that mountain of life, if every time we take our eye off the prize or get out of the present moments, we might slip and fall. Well, slipping and falling in our day-to-day life is one thing. You don't want to slip and fall on Everest. So I think that's a metaphor for the bigger picture. So we really have to stay focused and really climb that mountain one step at a time. And as we do that, we're lifting that veil and living from a much higher perspective. So Andy Rooney, he says, everybody wants to live on top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you're climbing it. And I think that's so true because, yeah, we all want to get there. We are going to get there. But in the meantime, don't forget to enjoy the journey. And because a lot of wonderful things happen as we're climbing that ladder. So it's really about the climb we're wanting to reach the summit. The summit would, as I'm portraying it here today, would be enlightenment, self-awareness, self-realization, overcoming the world, being in our highest spiritual state of awareness. So that's what's driving us. That's what's motivating us. But it's the steps we're taking right here, right now that matter. Because I don't think there's any shortcuts to success. I find it, and I actually also find that for me, that speaking of shortcuts, I think a lot of teachings out there is that, you know, there are shortcuts. And I'm not saying that we delay our own, we put our own obstacles and our blocks up, but I do think it's the journey that teaches us the most rich lessons. So in other words, be mindful in every step along the way. I don't think that my successes would be as meaningful had I just like snapped my fingers and manifested it. Now, granted, I took the long way a few times, but that was also helpful. And I do find that the more present I am, the more my veil is lifted, the more tuned in I am to love, that things naturally do happen with more ease and grace. So all I can suggest is right here, right now, that we all just stay present and mindful in this moment. So, so we just have to, you know, recognize it at one step at a time. We're climbing that mountain, and eventually we get there, and it's like, wow, cool. But enjoy and focus on the journey and the step you're on right now. So all the choices, every moment, every decision we make, and as I've shared many, many times over the years, we make literally thousands of decisions in the course of a day. And most of those decisions are based on our past programming. It's kind of like auto reply. So, and then we get triggered, and that's wounds of the past when I get triggered or upset or angry or what have you. But, you know, all of those decisions and choices that we make, if we're not really present and mindful and making decisions, holding the hands of those before us, the masters of the universe, meaning Jesus, Yogananda, Buddha, Krishna, whoever, you know, your inspiration is for enlightenment. But, you know, that's really enabling us. It's like put our hands out and be guided by, you know, when you're, say, an athlete, you want to train with the people who are the best at what they do. You want to study, if you're a musician, with people who have accomplished great things and they know what they're doing and have taught other people. So it is important to really pay attention to when we do get back into cycling through those old patterns of belief and thought and triggers. Because everything, no exceptions, everything is an opportunity for growth. So you want to go up the mountain, you recognize the pattern, you recognize the trigger, choose again. You want to go down, it's like you can go 2 steps up, 1 down, or whatever. But if you just want to get on that escalator and just keep climbing, keep your eye on the light. Own your stuff. Be willing to accept responsibility for everything in your world. And Janie, happy Sunday to you in sunny Florida. So it's a process, and but it's well worth it. So this little statement quote that I read this morning says, I am grateful. And I am grateful for the chance that life offers me each day to start over, to create the life I want. I'm grateful for the fact I can go and learn from my mistakes and then let them go. I'm grateful that the universe supports me with unconditional love to be the happiest and best person I can be. And I would say that attitude of gratitude is so powerful, carries a very high vibration. So focus, we all have so much to be grateful for. And so if you can focus on that, what you're grateful for, you're also putting yourself in a position to keep it on that escalator going up. So this is another way of looking at the steps, and it is first, say you're thinking of something you'd like to manifest. Well, let's just I think we're all here for wanting to live in our best lives, to be come from love as much as possible. So we'll use that as an example in how to apply these steps here. And so first, it's an intention. And I believe that we all set that intention a long time ago. Yes, we want to be our best selves. We want to live from a greater degree of presence and love. We set that intention. Then through that intention, our behavior begins to align with that intention. Because that intention is a call to the universe. I'm intending to live a more enlightened life. Then the universe gives us opportunities to behave in such a manner. And the more we behave in a loving, more enlightened way in how we respond and show up for the world, the more it becomes a habit. And we don't necessarily have to think about it so much because it just becomes as natural as breathing. And then it becomes who we are, second nature. It's just like who we are. So ultimately, that's another way to look at the level of awareness. Set the intention, practice it. It becomes a habit, second nature, and then simply who we are. And that's where the good stuff is. We keep thinking there's something we're gonna miss in this world. Darn it, I gotta go here, be there, do this, do that. I don't know. It's great to have experiences and fun, but I think what did they say? I'd like a life that I don't need a vacation from. And the good news is that when we live that life and we love our life, then I think the vacations and the other things become more meaningful, because now I'm enriched and I'm showing up for my vacation or my experience from a different perspective. But if I'm looking for that next trip or that situation or experience to fill a void in me, I'm going to seek and I'm never going to find it. Well, on a little different note, one of my favorite lessons in the Bible is Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And I just love, because it's, if you don't read anything in the Bible, it's a great rules and principles to live by. And it is, as it says here, the Sermon on the Mount was one of the most significant and well-known teachings of Jesus, delivered early in his ministry. It is recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, specifically chapters 5, 6, and 7. This sermon is notable for its profound ethical teachings and is often considered a cornerstone of Christian moral thought. Well, I definitely recommend a great book on the Sermon on the Mount, Emmett Fox. It's terrific. If you haven't read it, read it. And so the Beatitudes, those are really characteristics of what it means to live in a life of devotion to love, to Christ. And for example, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And so, it's our humility. We have to make space for the light to come in. If I'm filling my soul with garbage, well, I'm not making any room for the light to enter. The Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount, were about morality and living from a more moral, loving place. And also about prayer and spiritual practice and being ethical. So the sermon encompasses very condensed version of how to live our lives as a being of Christ, living to live more enlightened, being in the world, not of the world, being more kind, being more compassionate, being more generous, what have you. And so that is really one of the most beautiful teachings. And of course, the Lord's Prayer came from that. So, and I love the Lord's Prayer. If you don't say any other prayer, well, first one is thank you. But the second one, I would say the first one for me would be the Lord's Prayer. And I think it will energetically shift you every time you say it. So what does being on the top of the mountain mean to you guys? To me, it means that we've shed our ego. We can see clearly beyond the veil of our programs and judgment and expectations. We don't have to prove anything anymore. We're just living in a humble, peaceful state of awareness. And then we realize all we're really here to do is to lift each other up. And that's why I love so much the opportunity to share this ministry. I'd been became a minister in 1995, but certainly had an interest well before that, and spiritual interest. And but it's been one of the most meaningful journeys for me. And then I had to even recognize I had to let go of that identity, being a minister, the identity with this or that. That was part of the shedding. I don't think Jesus ever saw himself as a Messiah. He just lived simply and showed up and shared love. And so ultimately, you get to the point where it's about letting go and giving back and lifting each other up. So choosing love, okay, this is just a little quick reminder, choosing love over negative emotions is the key to raising your vibration and the vibration of others around you, and thus contributing to the vibration of the collective. So as I was talking about earlier, we make all these choices, and every time through the day, thousands, tens of thousands, literally, most are on autopilot, most are not love-based, they're fear-based and program-based. So being mindful, choosing love over fear or negative emotions. Every time I choose a benevolent thought, says the Course of Miracles, not only do I benefit, but the entire universe benefits by that, because we're vibrational beings. And what we're here to do, as earth as it is in heaven, is to just meld together where only love is real, only heaven exists. And, sometimes it just is, we don't have to go out and do any grand gesture or not. Maybe that is part of your experience for yourself or healing of the world. But, the simple things are very powerful. And as I say that, faith is living simply, choose love and giving back. Well, there you go. You can't live more mindful than that. And of course, you never know what light you might spark in others just by your kindness and example. So don't take the small stuff for granted, because the small stuff, the more small stuff, the more choices we make for love, the more fairy dust we sprinkle into our day-to-day being. That's how we overcome this world. That's how we close the gap between heaven and earth. Heaven and earth become one. And so one of my favorite movies of all time, The Sound of Music, it was a favorite growing up. My parents sang those songs to us all the time, and then we knew them all word for word. So, but climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow till you find your dream. And I think that, ain't that the truth? Just face it all, give it your best, come from, know that you're not walking this life alone. Jesus, Holy Spirit are there for the asking. We find a support system. Choose that which enriches your life, lifts you up. And like I said a minute ago, not only will you be benefiting by that, but the world will be blessed as well. So I hope, I'm looking at Santa over my shoulder here, and ho, 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 looking forward to having Christina and the family in for Christmas this year, and hope you all have great plans. We're going to be going on with this. I don't think I'm going to need to miss a Sunday, but hope you all have a blessed week and look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Take care, everybody, and namaste.